Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Marilyn Darling Show. And welcome to another episode of Fountain Pen Calligraphy 102. Today we are doing flourishing. But first, let's share this with all of our friends to let them know that we're live. How is everyone doing today? Are you having a nice day? I hope you're having a nice day wherever you are in the world. Okay. Now that that's shared, still a little coffee. Just took my pill for the evening. Okay. So I'm going to show you kind of an example of how to flourish each of your letters. Now there are plenty of ways to flourish. These are just some examples, but there is some basic ones. There is the loop, the spiral, the whip, the nay-nay, the pretzel, and the half circles. Now, these are just some. Oh, I forgot the cross. It's just basically a compound curve. Hi, Renee. How are you? Are you having a nice day? So, when making flourishes, you want them to kind of have a smoothness to their flow. These are pretty jagged lines. If you look real close, those are real jagged lines. That's because my hand was planted on the paper. And these ones are still a little jagged, but that's probably because I just got finished eating and I was a little shaky. But we're going to take a look at some flourishing each of the letters. So when you're making an A, we'll do the capitals, and then we'll do the lowercase. How's that? So when you're doing an A, I always start with the foot of the A, come up past the first ascender, come back down, around, and out. Now, there's a spiral right there. You could also make an A like that. You can put a little swish in there. You can also make an A. Go around your entire word. You can do the same thing here. Okay. Hi, Butterbean Head. How are ya? Are you having a nice day? The B, you can go above. Let's see. This is the first ascender. We can go above the first ascender. Let's do a couple of spirals in there. And do a little loop here and a little loop there. And then even a loop out if we want to. A C, the only way I know is to do a spiral out. And you want to make sure that it's no more than half of your, I mean, you could really make a big C like that. Hi, Kathy. How are ya? Are you having a nice day? Okay, the D is kind of an oddball because you can do it a couple of ways. You can go just above the first ascender, come down, big swooping motions, or you can even make kind of a copper plate D and do a spiral. Or you can do like I do a universal line of beauty, and then do a spiral into it. An E, you can do a little spiral, or you can do a horizontal oval, get a little crazy with these, or you can do maybe not this one, but anywhere where you can put a loop or a spiral, just as long as it looks nice. That's, you like the third D? Yeah, that's the one that I basically use all the time. The F, the simplest F is that right there. But even this is considered a flourish. So when making an F, you can make a really fancy flourish. You can get really loopy and really flourishy on these types of letters. But the one I do the most is just the universal line of beauty, kind of into a loop, and then out, and then down, and then a little hat. But you can get real flourishy with these. The G is kind of an oddball. There's two different G's. When you do the Palmer method G, you start at the baseline, you come up, you do a little loop, up, down, out, and over. Now you can, oops, sorry, oops. You can get kind of flourishy there, little tiny spiral. Or you can do a horizontal oval into a vertical oval, and then you can do a pretzel. Or you can do a horizontal to a vertical to a compound curve. Or you could even do a horizontal, vertical, into a nay-nay. There's a lot of different flourishes out there. But this happens to be one of my favorite flourishes, with the crossing the T and the I. We'll get into that in a little bit. H, you can do a spiral, and another spiral. Or you can do like that. I is not a very flourish. You can do kind of a multiple spiral, but it's kind of difficult to do once you're doing that type of a thing. The J is kind of the same as the I. The K, you can do a little swirl in. A little swirl out. The L is one of my favorites because you can go flourish it this way, or you can do a little swirly goo like that. Oh, and this pen is all out of ink. I'm gonna have to switch colors. Alright. Oh, this is a very pretty ink. This is called Emerald of Chivor. It has gold shimmer in it. The M is a spiralable. You can also, I'm going to go down a level and do a spiral up, come down on a compound curve, and then this one you can go up, over, you can do like a whip, and then continue the M. Or if you're going with the Palmer method M, you can swirl into an M and out. And the same thing with an N. You can swirl into an N, compound curve, swirl into an out. Or you can go like that. I like the G that is similar to what I use. Oh, nice! Most of the letters can be spiraled, which is nice, because it kind of gives you a nice loopy looking situation. The O can be spiraled, but you never saw that coming. Or you can do a horizontal oval, P can be spiral. Q can be spiral. And you can even encircle the whole word with like a loop, a giant loop. Or you can do an A. Let's see, the R. You can kind of spiral an R. S is really fun because you can go up and come down, and then you can make a big spiral. And then it kind of looks like a note, music notation, kind of, except it's backwards. Oops, wait a minute. T. You can spiral a T. And the cross with a nice little wavy flourish. The U can be spiraled. The V can be spiraled. W can be spiraled. X can be spiral. Y can be penciled and spiraled. Y can be put in a nay-nay. A Z is probably one of the only letters that ends with an upstroke, which is very exciting because a Z can be made into a whip. And you can make this whip go all the way across your word. You can even make it cross a T. Most of the lowercase letters, whoa, hold on, let me see. Almost the side of a treble clef, right? It's just because of it's because it's a pretty dark ink. I mean, if I lighten it up a little bit, you can kind of see the color, but it's just because of the way that the camera is behaving, which is better for learning purposes, because then you can kind of tell what it looks like when it's black. Okay, now the majority of the lowercase letters, X height, you're going to be coming off of another letter. So upstroke, we'll do the A. Now when you're coming on a downstroke, you can do an A-nay. You can do You can do a whip. You can do a loop. There's a lot of different things that you can do to, I mean, you can even nope, you can't do a pretzel because that's G. So don't do a pretzel when you're doing a G. It does, doesn't it? It's because it's got shading. So when you, okay, let's look at the B. The B is upstroke. You can do a whip. You can do a spiral. You can't do a nene, and you can't do a pretzel. C, you can do a small spiral C, or you can do a spiral out, or you could do a nene. Sorry, a whip. D, you can do a spiral. You can do a nene. You can do, you can't do a pretzel. You can do whip. The E, you can do a whip, or a nene, or nope, can't do a pretzel. You can loop out. Some people call it a pigtail, but you can call it whatever you want to call it. F, you do a whip, or you can do a backwards pretzel. You can do, oh, I already said whip. G, you could do an nene, or a pretzel, or a whip. The G is probably one of the most, the G and the Y are one of the most flourishable letters. So you're doing well if you can get a G at the end of your words. Well, there's not very much shimmer. I can't even see the amount of shimmer. It has such little in it. H. You can make a nene. make a whip. No, can't do a pretzel. You could do a spiral. Same with the eye, you could do a spiral. Or an AA. J. You could do a pretzel. Or an AA. You could even do a whip. And the faster that you do the whip, the smoother it will be. And of course, these will all take time and practice with your favorite words. Try your name, for example. Let's do K. K. You can do whip. Or a spiral. Or an AA. L. You can do a spiral. Or an AA. M. You can do a whip. Spiral. An AA. N is the same way with all these. Spiral. AA. Okay, O. This is a stylized O. You can go through the O, go up to the middle point of the line, and then down, around, and out. But if you don't want to do that, you can turn your comma dot into a tittle and an exit stroke, or you can go into a whip, or a spiral, or a spiral. P can go in a spiral, or you can loop out, or you can do a whip, or an AA, or a pretzel. Just make sure that if you're going to do a pretzel, that you make sure that these are two different looking loops, because you don't want it to look like a B. Maybe the P is one of the most versatile letters. You can spiral or swirl out, or yeah, you can do all the things. When we take our time and write, the written word can become so artistic and beautiful. Yes, yes it can. The Q has all these characteristics. You can do a backwards, pretzel. You can even do a whip. You could even do a backwards nay-nay. Let me see. Let me think. Or you can do a whip or a spiral or a nay-nay. Or a curly Q. S. You can spiral. Whip. Spiral out. Let's see. T is another one of my favorites. Here's where things get cool. You can spiral. Both arms. Kind of looks like a man flexing. Especially if you have, well, we'll get to that in a little bit. But you can spiral out that way. You can do an nay-nay. You can do a whip. You can do a whip. A nay-nay. Spiral. V is kind of a unique letter, but I don't think it would end on a V. You could do a whip. I suppose you could do a nay-nay. This is spiral out. Uh-oh. Sorry, that was a bit close. W. You can do a whip. Spiral. X. I don't know how you could spiral an X. Y. You could do a pretzel. Or an A. Or a whip. Or a spiral. You could even spiral out when you go down. And a Z is just like the capital Z. You can do a whip. You can do an A. You can even do a pretzel. Or a spiral. Or a spiral. Alright, well, that's a lot of food for thought. Thank goodness for the abilities to watch it back. Any comments, questions, concerns so far? Okay. Let's take some words. Let's do butterbean head. So, and even with these, you can take this, you can go all the way up around here like that too. And this one too. That one come all the way up and around if you want to. That is a good name. Yes, it is. You just don't want to overdo it. 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 flourishes. But every letter does not need to be flourished. Let's look at Kathy's name. We'll do a little spiral. Oops, wait a minute. You see what I did there? Don't forget the tittle. That's right. And you can make your tittles as small or as big as you want them, but always try and keep them so that people know what they are. Because if you just go bloop like that, I can't even see that on the screen. I can barely see it on the computer. But you want it so when people see it, they're like, oh, that's a period. Oh, that's a tittle. Let's do Gary's name. So, let's see. Isn't that nice? You don't want it too overly flourished, because people, there's something about symmetry that makes it really nice. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever seen John Hancock's signature. I'm going to look it up really quick. Oh, that's very interesting. So, John Hancock kind of comes up. Something like that. It's interesting because he kind of like writes each of his letters. The only letters that are connected are the A, the N, and the C and the K. That's it. He just wrote all of the letters. Oh, the O and the H. It's very interesting. Oh. Anyway, Is there a way to make the C in Kathy a little fancier? Well, you can do a horizontal oval into a spiral. And you can cross your T and spiral in your tittle. You can like that. Although it kind of looks like an L, but trying to think. I'm gonna just look up examples just really quick. Oh yes, this is one I forgot. You can actually reverse pretzel the C. I've never done this before. I've seen it done. That's how it looks. Now when you're making flourishes, the basic rule of flourishing is you don't want to cross two thick lines together. You always want to cross a thin line with a thick line, or a thick line with a thin line, just depending on which direction you're going. Unless you're like doing a cross. It just looks better for some reason. Let me see. Another way you could do your flourish your C is by what they call like a super flourish. You could draw your C, and then you could come off of it like so. Whoa. Okay. This one looks cool. It starts out with a nay-nay. Oh, that's weird. I'm gonna try that one again. Comes up, around, down. No. Oh, it's weird. You can get really crazy with the flourishing. There are just a couple, for example. Right. Oops. That better? Alexa, stop. 7 o'clock. So if you guys want to learn more about would be considered ornamental penmanship. They have some really crazy looking signatures that they do. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Pacific, Mr. M.G. Ward does a live. And he does what's called Sig Slingin' Sundays. On Tuesday. They put signatures from the business educator, and we kind of practice our own way of doing them, exactly like they used to do in the past. Only he does his with a dip nib. And I sometimes can do it with a dip nib, but most of the time I cannot do it with a dip nib because the flexibility is weird. Sometimes I can do it with the Fountain Pen Revolution. Fountain pen to write like that, or there are other pen that I can use almost as good. So, tomorrow we will talk about something called Faux Calligraphy. Okie dokie. That's 9 p.m. Pacific. That's what it is. I'm not hosting it. Mr. M.G. Ward is hosting. He does it every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Pacific. And he goes until midnight Pacific. Or sometimes past. And then after midnight, he starts his whole room goes dark, and he puts on a black light and uses glow-in-the-dark ink. It's so cool to watch. So, just for example, if you have a regular pen, you can do calligraphy with a regular pen. You just have to be much more fluid in your writing. because any little thing, any little bump or whatever, well, you'll see it for sure. I made one too many loops there. When you're doing faux calligraphy, all you're basically doing is coloring in where it would be thicker on the downstroke. Sometimes by bulging it out, and sometimes by pulling it in. Just depends on where it is in the letter. So tomorrow we will learn more about that. What am I doing? Whew. Where the nib would spread. Right, exactly. Where the nib would normally spread, you color it in extra. So that way, when you're making the swell, it would have a natural look to it. You just color it in. And not everyone is good at it, but you'll get better after a little while. It just takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of good luck. See, when I do my name, of course, try not to put too many flourishes on your name. Nice. See, and sometimes the pen doesn't fill it in, and I have to go back and touch it up. Or sometimes I muck it up and I do like this little bit right here. And so I gotta make sure I gotta come down, fill it all in all the way so it looks good. Try not to muck it up too much. Not necessarily. People flourish letters. You can flourish a letter. Other ways that you might be able to flourish your lettering is by making it really big. So and then you can do now I'm not any brilliant scientist at drawing flowers. But you can draw flowers along your lines to make them pretty. Or if you know how to draw flowers really good, you'll probably have better luck at it than I have, because my flowers are terrible. But butterflies. You could butterfly a bee. Or you could butterfly a pea. But you can basically use the lines to draw whatever you want on them. You can draw wait, what is, okay, let me think for a second. What was the one that I really liked? I want to say it was a dog, but I can't remember how to do it off the top of my head. Oh my gosh! Yes, you could do ivy. You could do little stems. You could even turn your peas or your bees or anything with a loop into a flower. You can do a little stem like this. That's a bad example. But you can pretty much take any stem and turn it into a stem. So, bees, yep. You can flourish a bird. All kinds of there's a multitude of different ways to make different creatures out of flourishing. You can see here's an example of a flourished bird. Another flourished bird. Super fancy. Flourishing. A lot of people do super fancy flourish words. Some people go a little bit crazy on the flourishing. So it really just takes a little bit of talent and a little bit of practice. So, what did you guys think of today's lesson? Are you going to do some flourishing? I hope so in the near future, because it's lots of fun. Good. Alright, well, that is all for today. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed that one. I hope that you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the little bell. Make sure it's set to all, so when I upload new content, YouTube notifies you. And I will be back very soon with another video. So, take care until then. Okay, love you, bye!